get spicy. So I'll bring you a bag.
Oh, okay.
Spice.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, good morning, everybody. It's 11:30. We'll get started with the pre-commission agenda. No president's report for me today. Are there any general housekeeping items or discussion of the agenda from the commission? All right, seeing none, we'll just move right along to the director's report. Director Head. Oh, I will mention that we have Commissioner Pickering online too.
She's online, did you say? Madam President, Commissioners, sorry, I'm thrown off because I'm so far over. I'm like, hi over there. Grateful for the opportunity to visit with you today. As we start out today, I just wanted to recognize three of our team members who over the last week hit their 25-year anniversary. So Brian Cousins is a lead worker on our broom crew. Susan Perry is our asset management specialist, so helps with our payment condition and managing that asset there. And then Wendy Tillman is our expert in the TMC, running that, and she's done that for a very long time. We are so grateful for their experience. We've been able to pause and say thank you to them, and I just wanted to acknowledge them today for that 75 years of experience those three individuals bring to the table to help us serve the public. So let's talk about some different build items that we've been working on. All right, so one of the things in building together that we value highly here at the Highway District is how we serve the community. Earlier, over the last few months, we've been working to raise items for some of our neighborhood schools and did a back to school school supply drive. We'll just watch a quick video here. Have to refresh the slide for a second. Anyways, this was led by our business operations group, and Sherry and her team brought this all together. We're so grateful for the efforts that they made. We love serving the community and value these opportunities to work together for good. We want to let you know, commissioners, the Eagle and State intersection project, which has been ongoing for 2 years now, is substantially complete. That is a huge accomplishment. Our team has worked exceptionally hard on that effort. And so we will be holding a ribbon cutting on November 13th at 3 p.m. You're all invited to join us. Please we'll make sure that there's a notice if in case we get quorum there. But we are very excited for the opportunity to celebrate with the community on the completion of that important project in that downtown. It's definitely been a difficult project. As a result, we're making a little bit of an extra effort to try and say thank you to the businesses and the community that supported us here. So we've set up something, it's called a Goose Chase, and put this out with the businesses there. It was, you set up different items that over the next month or so, people can go in, they can note that they've completed something, kind of like a scavenger hunt, and that they accomplished, whether it be go and eat at this restaurant or go and visit this area and take a picture, and they post that and share that. Just to say thank you to that community that's been so supportive through that difficult construction project. And so if you'd like to participate, we have this fun opportunity. Actually, we already had this subscription through our Walk Bike Ride program. And so we're just leveraging the resources we have to try and encourage individuals to go back downtown. With our Northwest Neighborhood Association Bike and Pedestrian Plan, our neighborhood transportation plan, we reached out recently to Pierce Park Elementary and went and visited with some of our future leaders here in our community. So Christy, Elijah, and Ely all were there visiting with the elementary school, asking them their perspectives, giving them some tools in terms of planning, and really giving them the opportunity to participate in that effort. And so just wanted to note that opportunity to work with these young future leaders. We also participated, as you know, we do in this kind of spring, summertime, we do have a rodeo. Well, we had an invitation from some of our partners to do a local interagency collaboration and competition. I have a short video here.
Hey, my name's Steve Overweg. I'm the Assistant Superintendent here at the City of Nampa Street Division. I just want to say how good of a time we're having and how it's awesome to meet with our other agency partners and learn some best practices and have some fun for the day with you guys.
I'm Kyler Vollmer. I'm from ITD in District 6. This event is a really neat opportunity to have a lot of collaboration between agencies and getting to know each other. And so if we ever need it, we can definitely rely on each other because we already know and have built friendships.
My name is Braden Thompson. I'm with Ada County Highway District and I'm a crew chief. This is a really awesome competition. It's a really good chance for all these operators from these different agencies to get together and really get a good chance to show off their skills and hone them in and really get a good emphasis on safety and precision.
We are grateful for the opportunity to work with our partners. Some of these things have been born out of the projects that we've been doing together with projects over on Ustick or the Eckert Road Bridge. These are, we're seeing the value in working together on these things and finding the opportunity to build those partnerships so that we can call on each other when we do have those needs. Really grateful for that opportunity and the engagement of our team in that. So, one of the projects that has been a priority in downtown Meridian has been this First Street and Pine crossing. This is immediately adjacent to, I think it's Meridian Elementary School. It's right in downtown Meridian, just off of Meridian Road there. So we were able, our crews have been working, this is part of our safety program, has been able to get in there, get a design. We got the improvements there. There's a bulb out in place. And then our crews have been able to go in and install that RFB. So we're really grateful for the opportunity to work together and get projects done faster. Wanted to share with you a fun good news story here. If you remember, it's been probably a year or so since we did a temporary treatment on McKinley, Jefferson, and Franklin. This is a corridor that comes up out of the foothills and then comes out over there right next to St. Luke's. But this was an area where through study and through testing, we found that there was quite a bit of speeding. People coming down from those foothills continued to go fast down these corridors. And so we worked, our safety engineering team worked to install and design some temporary treatments using kind of the plastic bollards, some candles, some different things there. We just installed a rectangular rapid flashing beacon. That one took a little bit longer to get all those materials and get that in design, but this, I have this under the build more category because of the ability to deploy something like that in a quick order. We've actually already seen a 4 to 6 mile per hour change in people's behavior. Just from the changes that we've made out there. So what an incredible impact that's had. We don't always see huge impacts in the people's behavior, but by doing the changes we've made, really still using those inexpensive temporary materials, we've been able to have a good impact and improve safety in that corridor. We're also excited to note that we actually received some vans. It has been a number of years since we have been able to procure vans for our commuter ride program. We've had funding, but not the vehicles available to actually purchase. And we've had 6 that have arrived. Out of I think we had 7 ordered, but six came in. And so we're really excited and just wanted to share with you that good news that we're going to have new vehicles to help that fleet continue to operate into the future. We also had a construction kickoff meeting on Linder Road, State Highway 44 to Floating Feather. This is taking a lot of coordination in this area. It's an interesting area right now. We have State Highway 16 that's having a lot of construction right there. They're redoing the intersection of 44 and State Highway 16, which is just a short distance away from Linder. We have some development that's affecting parallel roads, but we're working really closely with the city of Eagle, with the fire departments and the police, and the schools in that area to really make sure that this project can be successful. And so just wanted to highlight the work that the team is doing to make sure that coordination is happening for that big project that's kicking off. Shared this with you previously. Today is we have 3 more meetings in this location, 3 more meetings throughout the rest of this year. Come January, we'll be meeting officially at our new headquarters at Meeker and working to get that set up. But we're just noting the holidays and the different things that are coming up. We have just a few short meetings left to go. And also recognizing the date there for January 13th for a joint meeting with the city of Meridian. So text is small here because there's a lot going on over the next, as everyone knows, November and December are always busy. But we have a tour tomorrow with the city of Boise at our TOC. The mayor is going to be there. We have Commissioner Gold will be at the Star Chamber of Commerce presentation. We have additional public open houses on the construction for Linder and 44 to Floating Feather. And then we also have a commercial developers meeting, which we'll be sharing more of the CIP presentation that you'll see later today. A number of holidays and other things. Want to know our next all-staff meeting will be our next quarterly awards. Will be here at Adams Broom Shed on the 18th at 8 a.m. You're welcome to that. Your meeting on the 10th, we invite you if you can plan a little bit of extra time after the commission meeting there. We're going to have our leadership ACHD team come and we're going to have lunch for you with them so that they can ask you all the hard questions. If you're willing to take a little bit of time there, they would really appreciate the opportunity to understand that side of public service and leadership. And then our annual ACHD holiday gathering will be on the 11th. That one's actually, we're doing something a little bit different, but we have a wonderful new venue at Meeker that has a lot of space. And so we're going to do that in-house on the 11th. We're going to do it at lunchtime that day. And we'll have our annual awards that day. We'll also have some good food, some fun, and different activities there for the whole team. So you're welcome to join us for that as well. With that, Commission, I'll stand for any questions.
All right, Commissioner Nielsen.
Yeah, I just want to say on the McKinley, thank you. I remember back at the January public meeting on the Warm Springs concept, a gentleman was in tears trying to get his kid to Roosevelt every day. And so I don't know his name. If he's out there, I hope he's enjoying that. I drove by there the other day, and yeah, I am curious though on the speed reduction. Is that done? Is that measured right afterward, or how did we come up with that?
We measured it. We usually give it time to settle in. Once we make a change, we like to give it some time. And then we also would look at it we want to make sure it's during the school year and or when we expect people to be out there. And so I don't know exactly when that count was taken, but I think it's fairly recent that they took that count to make sure that we had that after effect to see what happened.
Exactly. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah.
question?
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney?
Director, just one quick question on the agenda, on the consent agenda. Just wanted to clarify, make sure I understand all the information on item number 3, the traffic control services agreement. We have 4 contractors. And so my understanding is that $1.3 million amount, that's the amount for each contractor. So the total amount is like what, 5.2 million? So it's 4 different contracts and each are at that amount. That's not the total amount for all of them. Am I correct?
Yeah, Madam President, we sign a contract for 1.3 with all of them, but our budget's only 1.3 and that's what we'd expect to spend. What we do is we have that contract for that because we don't know which resources we're going to need to call on at any given time. So we want to make sure that it's available. We're not committed to pay 1.3. It's an as used contract. So and often we end up spending less.
So there are 4 contractors and the contract amount for each is 1.3 million, a not to exceed amount.
Correct.
But we're not going to spend an aggregate of more than 1.3 on all of them. Is that
Correct.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
Any other questions for the director? All right, thanks so much for another great report.
Thank
And with that, we will be at ease until noon. All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's now 12 o'clock. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thanks, everybody, for joining us in person and online, and please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item is to adopt the agenda. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is
Aye.
the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless noted. I don't believe we have any requests to move any consent agenda items, so is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam President,
Commissioner McKinney.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, we've got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that moves us to the regular agenda. This is not an action item and it is not a public hearing, so it is mislabeled as that. But it is a certificate of recognition for Karel Olsen, and we've got Director Head.
Thank you. Madam President, Commission, just wanted to take a moment and express gratitude for one of our citizen volunteers. Karel Olsen has been a member of our ADA Advisory Committee, so our Americans with Disability Act Advisory Committee, for over 9 years. And she is coming up on a much-deserved retirement and will be stepping down from that committee. And we just wanted to take a moment today to express gratitude. Just a few items about Karel. So that nearly a decade of participation in helping us do a better job and making sure that our facilities are accessible to all individuals. She's a strong professional and with a strong educational background. She's the supervisor of special education services at West Data School District. She has a master's in communication disorders and a bachelor's in speech pathology from BYU. She has been an active member of the committee. We know that we appreciate all of our volunteers, but we really appreciate those who really are engaged and really give us that key feedback that we really need. And she has always been that. So she really is an ideal citizen volunteer, providing countless hours to the highway district, to the community with disabilities, as well as to ACHD and our team. And for that, we'd like to just invite Karel to come up and just say thank you. Karel, just a brief certificate of appreciation from our team, just to say thank you for all your years of service.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Karel. Thanks for recognizing Karel, Director Head, and thank you, Karel, for all of your dedicated work on the advisory committee and all the other work you do in the community as well. Okay, so next up, we have discussion items, public communications. Is there anybody in person or online who wish to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, the meeting's adjourned. We'll move into the post-commission agenda. We've got a couple of work sessions. First up is the Hillside Development Policy, and Christy Little.
Thank you, Madam President. Commissioners, for the record, Christy Little, Development Services Manager. With me today is our awesome team that drafted this new policy for the Hillside. We have Michael Alexander, he's our Development Review Supervisor. Michael's team reviews all of the engineered plans that come in for all new development, so all subdivisions and all the commercial projects. And then Paige Bankhead, you're familiar with Paige and all of her work with safety engineering. These two really did a great job crafting this policy from little to very large, and I think it'll be a huge benefit to the district. Additionally, just for the commission's information, we did hire a consultant to do a peer review of this draft document, and we did take their comments and recommendations into account and included some of those in the draft. That consultant was really helpful in providing us with some very specific local information that I think will be great. So I've provided you with hard copies of both our existing and the proposed policies. And as I mentioned to you, I'll be emailing those out to you this afternoon. Our existing Hillside policy, as you see, it only refers to certain reports that are required by the land use agencies. And there's no mention of analysis or specific mitigation to road infrastructure. So our goal is to aim to have the development community and their engineers provide us with accurate geologic and hydrologic data before they even begin designing their site. So you'll see the new 8-page policy in front of you. This policy is really a requirement for a geotechnical report specific to ACHD. The intent of the policy is clearly stated, which I think is great, and it's to provide for the safe construction and adequate lifespan of public roads and associated infrastructure, such as stormwater facilities. So we don't certainly want to accept new streets into subdivisions only to have them fail, within a couple of years, and then we're spending thousands of dollars to repair those roads in their infancy. And I know you're familiar with some of them that we have now. So that's the intent of this policy. The policy is applicable where hillside slopes exceed 25%, or where there are in an area of adverse conditions, such as collapsible soils or old landslide areas. Very few developments will actually be impacted by this. On average, we receive approximately 10 hillside applications every year out of the total of 600 that we receive for the rest of the county. So this policy outlines the requirements for the geotechnical report. This is similar to our policy for traffic impact studies, where we have standards for how to collect the data, how to present the data. A lot of the data and analysis that we are requiring is already being done as part of the city or the county's requirement for a hillside report. But this policy standardizes the processes needed specifically for the roadways and for our infrastructure and how to present the findings for mitigation, which can be different than what the land use agency is requiring as they're looking at specific lot development. So the components of the geotechnical report include investigation standards and lab testing. So again, the policy outlines the purpose, and the purpose of the investigational standards is to evaluate the potential impacts of adverse soil, bedrock, and groundwater conditions. And the objective is to develop recommendations to mitigate the impacts of adverse soil, bedrock, and groundwater, such as landslides, springs, settlements, erosion, and collapsible soils. Our standards proposed include boring locations, boring intervals, and specific depth locations. For lab testing, the purpose is to test the soil and bedrock and to verify the field classifications. And examples of required testing include moisture content, compaction, permeability, and soil collapse. All of these are very important to the integrity of the new roadways that we're accepting into our system. The policy includes a framework for how to present the report, and there are 9 general areas. These are general site information, hydrology, geotechnical investigation, geotechnical map, drainage report, infiltration restrictions, retaining walls, collapsible soils, and slope stability. I was going to go into more detail on these, but this is a pretty technical document, and all of these are equally important. So tomorrow we'll kick off with our stakeholders, specifically the Commercial Developers Advisory Committee. We'll present this initial draft to them. And from there, we'll be sharing the draft with the development community, including their civil and geotechnical engineers. and also our partner agencies. So here's our general timeline, subject to change depending on your direction, of course. So we'll spend the next month doing outreach and meeting with engineers and the development community and receiving their feedback. In December, I'll be back to visit with you to receive your feedback as a commission and share the comments that we've received through our outreach. Obviously, as I mentioned, this is a very technical document, and our team would be happy to meet with you individually to go through this and hear your feedback and your comments. Depending on how much feedback we do receive from the commission and the public, we plan to have a public hearing in late January or early February for adoption. President Gold asked me about some specific design standards before the meeting started. This policy does not address design standards. This is really the basis for how we even get to a developer or an engineer designing a road in the foothills. But we're certainly open to your feedback and your direction on this. And with that, we will stand for questions. Michael and Paige are here to answer all of the technical questions for you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner McKinney?
Yeah, Christy, just quickly. So I want to make sure I understand everything I'm looking at here. Is this the current Hillside policy? This one little paragraph?
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, you are correct.
Okay, and so the new one is this 6 or 7 page document here?
Correct.
Okay, all right. No, that's good. I'm absolutely aware of, the hazards of building on hillsides, and there are too many times, of course, when things are built on hillsides and there are negative results because because of investigation. In many cases, it's because investigation wasn't thorough enough beforehand. So this is good. Thank you.
Commissioner Olsen?
Yeah, Chrissy, one thing that to think about is how to tie in the kind of the process with the land use applications. I mean, relative to if these are roads on a plat, that you have to have these investigations done, either preliminary or final plat. So what do we need to know at each stage of the process? These are not cheap investigations. So I think that would help the customers know what they need to do, what they need to submit. And then there's a early meeting maybe with the land use agency. I think that would benefit everybody to sit around the table and figure out those benchmarks. So I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah.
President Gold, Commissioner Nielsen, that's something we're hoping to work with land use agencies on. We're pretty successful with the traffic impact studies and having those early pre-application meetings. And some of the land use agencies won't accept a development application until the traffic study has been completed and reviewed by the highway district. And so I'm hopeful that we'll kind of be able to lead down to that same process.
Great. Thanks.
Commissioner Pickering?
Yeah, thank you. Christy, this is really exciting. I really appreciate your work in bringing in an external consultant on this. I was just wondering, in that analysis, I'm assuming, but that's what I want to ask about, did they review and have other similar policies that they're referencing that guided this initial draft? And if yes, where did they pull some of that inspiration from?
You want to answer this one? Madam President, Commissioner Pickering, I'll have Paige answer that one.
Hi, Madam President, Commissioner Pickering. So before I was at ACHD, I was in Jefferson County, Colorado, and we had a lot of hill slope issues. Did a little bit different geology, and my background is in geological engineering, so I'm really invested in this policy. But I pretty much drew from some of their requirements because they had a really thorough geotechnical report process. So that's kind of where I've been drawing that from, and it's just outside of Denver.
Great, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Oh, yes. And then one more thing to add. In addition, I did look at the city of Boise and their geotechnical report requirements as well. So.
Thanks, Christy. Appreciate, I think this is going from what we have to this, I think is an important step in the right direction. My memory is that when we discussed this Hillside policy earlier in the year, and what I mentioned to you before the meeting is considering adding, not accepting roads over a certain grade, just, you know, in terms of the risk that's outlined in the geotechnical requirements and maintenance burden to the public. And so if it doesn't make sense in this section of the policy, like I still think it's an important thing to add in our policy. So if we could get that added somewhere, that would be really great, in my opinion. And look forward to how this one moves through our public and partner comment period. Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, next up in the work sessions, we've got impact fee capital improvement plan update, draft plan and impact fee schedule, pre-adoption presentation by staff. Welcome, Edinson.
Good afternoon, Commission and President. My name is Edinson Bautista, ACHD Senior Transportation Planner and co-manager for the Impact Fee and Capital Improvement Plan update. With us today, we have Megan Anderson, Impact Fee Administrator and co-manager of this update as well. And as well, we have our consultant for this project, Sonia DeLayden and Mark Heisinger from Kittleson. In today's meeting, staff and the consultant will present an update on the impact fee capital improvement update, including a summary of all the outreach conducted up to this point, refinement of the plan based on the feedback received, and the next steps in the process. Commission, on Tuesday, yesterday, staff updated the agenda and staff report to include additional material received during the public outreach period. Staff would also like to recognize and thank all the agencies, the 6 cities and the county, stakeholders, the CICAC, and the development community, and the members of the public who participated and engaged with staff in the past couple of months to discuss this year's update. With that said, I will give the time to Sonia and Mark, who will lead this presentation.
Welcome, Sonia.
Thank you. Sorry, just trying to organize everything here. President Gold, commissioners, thank you for having us back again today to take this next step forward with your capital improvement plan and impact fee update. Again, I'm Sonia DeLayden with Kittleson and Associates. We'll start today with another overview of the process we've gone through to complete where we are today. So this CIP and traffic impact fee update was significantly more intensive than has been in recent updates, because we started this process with a very detailed best practice review. We conducted several brainstorming sessions with yourselves, as well as with several of your committees, and investigated best practices as it related to several key policies within your CIP and traffic impact fee ordinance, as it related to best practices throughout the country, as well as what is legally allowed within the bounds of the Idaho Development Impact Fee Act. We looked at those policies related to service area, related to range of projects that are allowed to be funded by impact fees, related to the types of streets and roadways within Ada County that are included in the CIP, and then within the analysis time period and analysis procedures we use. And after that best practice review, we then moved into the actual capital improvement plan analysis, looking at existing roadways and existing deficiencies, looking at future growth projections, future travel forecasts, and the projects that would be needed to serve that future growth. We then moved into developing detailed project cost estimates for those projects needed in the future to serve future growth. And then we wrapped those project costs and those projects into an impact fee methodology and a draft capital improvement plan and impact fee schedule. That draft plan and schedule went out for public review recently. But really, since July, there's been quite extensive outreach and engagement with committees, ACHD standing committees, with partner agencies, with the development community and the general public. And like I said, that has been going on since about July at this point. Most recently, we had a virtual video library and the documents posted online for a 3-week public review comment period. And as Edison mentioned, we received quite a significant input of comment from a wide variety of stakeholders, from your partner agencies, from the development community, and from the public. All of those comments are in your packet and were in your packet for your review. Today, we want to summarize some of the key themes we heard out of this comment period, really going back all the way to July, but especially the most recent period that just wrapped up a couple weeks ago. First, there was general agreement through all of the comments we received that impact fees are an important component of ACHD's makeup and of your revenue stream, and that impact fees should be in place so that growth has a way to pay for its fair share of needed improvements in the future. There was a lot of feedback on the increase in impact fees that were shown in that recent draft. And I would say characterize that feedback as mixed. Some of the feedback stated that it has been quite a while since ACHD increased your impact fees, and they recognize the significant increase in the cost of creating projects out in the real world. And so it made sense that these impact fees are going up. There were other comments that stated this is a very significant increase all at once, and there were concerns about it. So mixed feedback on both sides of that topic. There was quite a bit of comment related to the topic of service area. And again, that feedback was mixed. There were many people who responded to the public comment who were supportive of the proposed 2 service area model that was in the draft. And then there was also a fair amount of people who commented that they would prefer that ACHD maintained a single service area. And that went across the board with the general public and as well as partner agencies. I will say the feedback from the development community was more consistent on the topic of service area in terms of preferring a single service area model. We received comments about expanding the types of projects that could be funded by impact fees. And as you're aware, we've had many detailed discussions about that and what is allowable under the current Idaho Impact Fee Act. But we did want to make you aware that that was a public comment received. People were interested in potentially expanding what could be impact fee eligible. Maybe that's a topic for the future, for future consideration. And then finally, we received comments on refining the actual roadway and intersection project lists, projects that were included, that weren't included. We received comments on those. And I think I just want to summarize this slide by saying it was a very positive, helpful, and informative process of receiving all this feedback for this plan. We appreciate all the comments that were received, and they really did help us move forward with another step in our refinement of what projects are in here, how our project costs are calculated, and how to move forward to a final draft plan. So I do want to highlight a little bit on what refinements we have moved forward with based on all of this input and feedback. So the first is related to the projects that are in the plan. Based on feedback received, we did take another close look at the projects that are listed. And there were a few, 4 total projects that were listed previously in the draft that we felt could be refined and actually taken out of the CIP, primarily because they were recently completed. As you know, we've been going through this process for some time. Some of the data that we had been basing assumptions on may have been a little old, And there are a lot of active projects out there, both from the development community as well as ACHD. So I'll highlight those for you, but I did want to let you know that we did remove 4 projects from our project list. And then our project cost methodology. We did make some refinements based on the feedback received to our project costs. One, because there has been some additional right-of-way recently purchased, so we wanted to make sure we were not double counting for that in the CIP. We did take a more refined look at some of our intersection projects. You might remember we included every intersection project as in the CIP and as impact fee eligible for both construction cost as well as right-of-way preservation. We did think there were some intersection projects that should be moved to right-of-way preservation only, similar to how we did for some roadway projects. We took a closer look at our inflation factors. And then we also looked at, for those roadway projects where we identified them as right-of-way or corridor preservation only, we did some refinements to our project costs for those based on the likely redevelopment potential of those corridors, because that is a very important consideration, as that would be when ACHD would use impact fees to purchase right-of-way along those corridors. So if those corridors had a very slim chance of redevelopment within this plan's horizon, we felt it was important to factor those costs accordingly. Yes.
Let's go back one slide.
Sorry.
No problem. So, commissioners, one topic that I wanted to highlight specifically related to project costs, and I think this is really important. It ties right back into the public feedback we received also, specifically from the development community. One of the things we heard from the development community and the multiple letters that you received was there was some uneasiness and question about the wisdom of including the rebuilding of the existing travel lanes within our project costs as an impact fee eligible costs. So historically in previous CIPs, ACHD has excluded the reconstruction of the, let's say, 2 lanes that are already there as part of our eligible impact fee eligible project costs. With this update, this was a topic of discussion quite a bit throughout the process with the CICAC and the commission. The development community has a different opinion than where we've landed thus far with the commissioners on this. At a work session, you did direct us to go ahead and include those costs essentially as a policy change within the CIP to include those costs as impact fee eligible. This is an area of nuance, and I wanted to bring this up because Idaho code isn't explicit on this issue. It is there's probably some interpretation based on how you read Idaho code. Up to this point, taking our consultant's direction and outside legal counsel, we felt comfortable including it, but it's not without risk. And I think that's important, and staff wanted to highlight that today. In recent conversations with our legal counsel, I think there's some risk here moving forward with this idea because it can be challenged. When we make these types of policy changes, they can be challenged as legitimate or not when we go forward with the CIP. So based on that, I'm not trying to derail the presentation today, but I wanted that to be really clear that that is an area where we have concerns based on the feedback from the development community. Typically, if it is going to be challenged, it's going to be challenged by the fee payer, which is the development community that that pays these fees. So the numbers you're going to see today, I want to be crystal clear, include those costs of reconstructing the existing travel lanes. That's the decision we've made. That's what the draft plan had. But I think there's still a decision point for the commission today on that issue. It was an issue of pretty, I would say, vocal public comment. And I'll hand it back over to Sonia to kind of go through the presentation, but I'll readdress this with the commission because we would like to get further direction on that today, considering all the public feedback that we received related to that. I'll pause if you have any questions, or I can just hand it back to Sonia. We can go forward.
Madam President.
Commissioner McKinney?
Yeah, Justin, just a quick question before you go. What's the magnitude of the effect on impact fees where we do include rebuilding versus not?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President, Commissioner McKinney. When we bring up the impact fee table, we're going to show you some tables today of what was in the draft, what staff is proposing based on the changes and refinements that we're presenting to you today. And we can also address that, at least in some scale at that time. I don't have those exact numbers, but we'll be able to give you a feeling for if we do exclude those costs related to the rebuild of the existing travel lanes. It will reduce the impact fee for sure, and we'll walk through that with you during that slide.
Thank you, Justin. So jumping back to those project refinements, I just want to highlight these for you. And I know it's very small on this countywide map, but you can see here one of the projects that we removed or that we're proposing be removed with these refinements is the segment of Locust Grove between Lake Hazel and Columbia. A good portion of that mile segment has recently been constructed as a 3-lane section. Our plan designated it as a 5-lane section, but given that it has a good portion of that has been recently constructed as a 3-lane section, we feel it's reasonable to not to keep that as a 3-lane section consistent with that recent construction and the fact that development in that area along both sides of the road has been building out there. Related to intersections, the 3 intersection projects that were removed from the plan, and this all again is based on recently completed projects. Those would be Black Cat and Ustick, Locust Grove, Lake Hazel, and then 10-Mile and Amity. All 3 of those intersections have recent or in-process construction that would complete a project there. So also including that project in the CIP didn't make sense. And so we appreciate all the feedback that led us to be able to make those refinements. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Sorry, Angel. All right, so moving on to how did these refinements actually impact our project costs and our impact fee eligible costs as well as impact fees? That's what is shown on the screen here. So you can see here in the prior 2 refinements, these are the numbers that were in the public draft, but in orange is highlighted after we made these refinements to projects in the project cost methodology where we get to. So I think the most important number for you to recognize here is the one on the bottom row, which is previously we had a total impact fee eligible cost within the county of about $1.64 billion. And with refinements, that now moves to $1.3 billion. So about a 20% decrease in the overall impact fee eligible costs. President Gold, Commissioner McKinney, just to go back to your question, if we were to remove the full cost of roadway construction and remove a portion of that accounts for existing lanes, that would be approximately we think about a 5 to 7% further decrease on that $1.3 billion. So about 800 million, or not, excuse me, 80 million further reduction in that $1.3 billion.
Sonia, 1 second. Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Yes, the difference between 1.64 billion and 1.3, I think, is quite a bit more than the cost of those 4 projects, isn't it?
President Gold, Commissioner Goldthorpe, it is. So removing those 4 projects was one piece of it. The other piece of the difference is going back to these refinements to our project cost approach. So making sure we accounted for any recent right-of-way purchases and removing those costs, moving some intersection costs to right-of-way preservation only and removing the construction of those construction costs for those intersections as well, and then some inflation factor adjustments as well as that redevelopment potential adjustment.
What was our inflation factor adjustment?
So we did not change the actual inflation factor. what we did was 4 projects that are identified as right-of-way preservation only. In the previous draft of the plan, all of those were assumed with an inflation factor that they would be purchased in 2040 to 2045. So they essentially had the 15 to 20 years of inflation factor costs associated with them. In closer refinement and review, we realized that was overly conservative because not all of that right-of-way would be purchased out that far in the future. Right-of-way is purchased when it becomes available, when development happens. And so we adjusted that to not assume those were all so far out in the future and to assume some of those would be purchased more recently and then have a lower inflation factor added to them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, great clarification. That you're exactly right, though. That difference is not just the 4 projects. There were other assumptions that went in. And again, I will just say this was all great dialogue and feedback that came out of a lot of discussions and public feedback. So it was very helpful for us. If we take this $1.3 billion and then adjust our draft impact fees, that is what is shown on this slide here. So in the green were the draft impact fees in the public draft that was released at the end of September, and in orange would be the new refined impact fees. There's a lot of numbers on this table, so I apologize for that, but we know last time we talked with the commission, there were questions about what would it be like if it was a single service area? So we wanted to provide that information to you as well. And there was also questions about a multifamily land use code. So we added that to this table as well. There are many multifamily land use options, but we added one, for example, here. So you can see previously, if we take a single family home, assuming a single service area, the previous fee was $7,843. With these refinements, that would move to $6,217 in a single service area. Obviously, if the commission chooses to move forward with a 2 service area model, that would be slightly different in each of those service areas, and those numbers are up there for you. I will highlight again, if we were to adjust for the full pavement reconstruction, that would again reduce these slightly further, about that 6% or so. So maybe I'll pause here to see if there's any questions from the commission before we move on.
Madam President.
Go ahead with Alexis.
Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, thank you. I was just wondering, what's the percentage increase with the refinement? Just for an example, on like the single family unit, for the single service area, how big of a percentage increase is that 6,217 compared to today's impact fee?
President Gold, commissioners, that is about an 80% increase over today's fees.
Thank you.
Yep. Great question.
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Frankly, I'm surprised at the impact of those refinements, and I don't necessarily have a question about it, but I would recommend that the commission strongly consider keeping inside of the new plan the total reconstruction costs.
Commissioners, I will add, I know percentages can get tricky, at least in my head at times. So I do want to share. So if we were to remove that cost, the full cost of a project and take some factor for accounting for existing lanes, that 6217 for a single family, if we reduce that, it would be around 5,800. That's that reduction. So it's about another $400 to $500 reduction. But obviously, yes, that is the commission's purview on which way you would like to move with that.
Madam President.
Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for explaining that. And that And just to kind of make sure that I'm understanding your summary of the development community's angst, they were against us having it include the entire cost of the project. Is that correct?
So the way ACHD has calculated impact fee costs and project costs in the past has taken a reduction factor for existing lanes. It is a conservative approach. It's a tested approach because that is what you have done for some time. As we presented previously, it is different than what some other agencies do in the state of Idaho. Other agencies do not take that reduction. But as Justin mentioned, there is some risk to changing your policy on that.
Okay,
because
that's what Justin was saying. Okay, got it.
There could be different legal interpretations, yes.
Got it. But other highway districts are going the other direction. And there's precedent around that.
President Gold, commissioners, other cities I know in the state of Idaho who calculate transportation impact fees have not taken that same reduction that ACHD has done historically. And I believe that is because in the Idaho Development Impact Fee Act, it defines what a system improvement cost is. And if it's helpful, I can just read quickly. It says, the cost incurred for construction or reconstruction of a system improvement. So it does, in the Idaho Development Impact Fee Act, it does acknowledge that when you build new lanes, a lot of time that requires some reconstruction to build that project that growth is driving.
Right. Okay, thank you.
I'd like to share with you about recent conversations with our Capital Investment Citizen Advisory Committee. They did request that the meeting minutes from all their meetings related to this project be provided in your packet. So you do have that in your packet because they did want you to see what they've been discussing and what they've been deliberating. There is a variety of different opinions amongst CIC members on certain areas and which way to go. I will highlight for you the committee has made motions and taken a vote on the topic of service area twice in recent meetings, once in June and then once just last week in October. And in both those cases, the committee voted 4-3 in favor of making a recommendation to you of maintaining a single service area on that one topic. So they wanted to pass that on to you. And then related to including the full pavement cost as impact fee eligible, what we've just been talking about, they did make motion for that and take a vote on that recommendation in the June meeting as well. And at that time, they voted 7-0 in favor of not taking a reduction for the full pavement cost in impact fees. There was a motion made in the most recent meeting to reconsider that and remove it from impact fee costs, but that motion did not receive any second in that meeting or moved forward to a vote. So I wanted to highlight that for you. I'm happy to answer any more detailed questions, but I'm also going to turn it over to Justin at this time to talk about next steps.
Madam President.
Commissioner McKinney.
Before we move on, I just wonder, and I don't know if this is a question for you, Sonia, or for Justin, but I'm wondering if we can take the question about the reconstruction issue. Can we put that in terms of an annual revenue amount? We're looking at 5 to 7% effect on the impact fees. In rough numbers, what does that mean as far as total impact fee revenue on an annual basis? Can we make a stab at that?
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, it's a little hard to do that live here. We can give us a chance. We can all kind of think about it a little bit. Our current impact fee program collects, let's just say, $25 million a year at the current rate. If you increase your impact fees and collections stay the same and you increase your impact fees by 80%, let's just say you're going to be in that approximately between 40 and $50 million range, based on what you've seen today. If you decrease it by that 6-ish%, overall, based on the different service areas and how things play out, you're still going to be likely above, $40 million a year from a overall collections perspective, if things stay the same. Collections are something that happens based on broader economic conditions. If I had to, put a pin in it, it's a judgment call. It's certainly, if you keep it included, it is a more aggressive approach to collect those fees related to that, which we have not done in the past. If you remove it, I think you remove the risk of being challenged on that issue. And the fees do go down a little bit, but you're still looking at a substantial increase overall in your fee collections annually if things remain the same from a collection
So
perspective.
it sounds like though, as I'm just running those numbers in my head, it sounds like it's a difference of maybe $2 or $3 million on an annual basis. Is that about right?
Potentially. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's probably a fair assertion.
Okay.
Once again, depending on how collections come in annually and how the development works.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Commissioner Nielsen?
Yeah, thanks, Sonia and Justin. So information that would be useful to me is, the first thing is, what would the multifamily rate be? Usually we just get the single family detached number. But at some point, oh, look at you. So I'll get a copy of this. 'Cause I want
Yes.
it relative to the type of growth in my district. That's what I want to kind of process that. And then for every 5-year increment of the CIP, I know I can calculate based on the new table, the impact fee eligible cost, but is there a way to, I've kind of done back of the envelope based on Compass data, the growth within that 5 years, the potential revenue. Has that been calculated, or is there a way to see where that we're, how the collections estimated are keeping up with the cost?
President Gold, Commissioner Nielsen, so we have not done that calculation. We could, so as you know, when we do the analysis for the CIP and the project development, we do it in 5-year increments. So we'll take the first 5 years and then build on from there. So we could give you what growth Compass assumed in each 5-year increment and do some back calculations for what, if that growth were to occur and those building permits would be pulled, we could give you an estimate of, with these impact fees, of what revenue that would relate to. But obviously that is no guarantee that that revenue would actually come in. But we have not done that currently. If that is something of interest, we could provide that to you.
It is obviously of interest.
Yes, yeah.
And
We'd
one
be
reason-
happy to provide you that information.
And not to get in the weeds, but it will help me evaluate. I mean, the biggest project in the second 5 years is Lake Hazel, the extension. And I don't know, this is maybe be careful what you wish for a single area, because I fully intend on getting Lake Hazel funded and done. And it might take longer with the 2 zone, but if we can get it done sooner, I might be persuaded for a single service area for this next 4 years. I just want to say it too. I am just going to be bird dogging that every year we need to update the CIP. This big jump, we just can't, I'm just not going to tolerate having it done this way again, that we just have to stay on top of it every year and put the committee to work on keeping everything updated. And I know the staff would be happy to do that and the committee members, but I don't want to be in the spot in 4 years of having a new, whole new thing and willing to, I mean, and as far as the new, so I'm probably going to be more I don't know if the word lenient is more accepting of some things as long as we keep on top of this every single year and really tighten down the screws a little bit more because it's only going to get harder, you know. But thank you for all the work you're doing. But that revenue, estimated revenue relative to the cost would help me win those decisions. So.
Madam President, Commissioner Nielsen, we'll do our best to provide you the best
Yeah.
information we can on that as we move towards adoption. When it comes to annual updates, the draft ordinance that will go out does include an opportunity for an annual inflation-related adjustment to our impact fee program, and we can absolutely do that annually
Yeah.
without having to update the whole CIP. There's a discretionary opportunity within the ordinance to allow for some adjustment related to inflation. As you can clearly see, over the years, ACHD has been inconsistent about that for various different reasons, but that's something that we can absolutely work on.
Yeah.
So as we do move into the next steps, we're approaching the end of this process. I did want to just talk a little bit more about the inclusion of the existing travel lanes or not as a principle that we would like to change within our CIP program. As staff has looked at this further in consultation with ACHD legal counsel, I think the most conservative approach for the commission would be to remove those costs from the CIP. That's just based on, I think it reduces any chance that the CIP would be challenged based on those grounds. I think you saw within the letters and communication from the development community, they had a very strong opinion about this specific issue. I think the state code, although it does allow for reconstruction, there are also other stipulations of what it doesn't allow for, and I think there could be some confusion on this topic. I do recognize it reduces the fee. Staff, when we look at the fee, we're not trying to hit a target number. We want to present to you a program that is defensible. We want to present to you a program that we can implement and that we feel can move forward without question. And so I want to throw that out there for your consideration. It was not included in the refinements today, but based on your direction today, we could include that refinement as we move towards adoption. I'll pause there if there's any further conversation or question on that.
Commissioner Goldthorpe.
Yeah, I have a comment or three to make right now, and I apologize that I'll probably offend somebody. I've sat here for almost exactly 11 years, and we've only talked about this particular, these fees once or twice. I wasn't even, this is me personally, and maybe I was asleep at the wheel, but I'm a retired salesman and I wasn't aware of the impact of not having had these discussions very regularly over the last 11 years. And as such, and having sat through one entire year where our development community, in particular the BCA, sent people here who they had paid to develop a plan to prove to us that a $3,500 impact fee was paying for the cost of growth. And that was an insult because we all knew it didn't. I, for one, am not afraid of a challenge. Having come from an industry where I used to have to tell people all the time, I can't make this decision. Sometimes the people that can only make this decision wear robes and sit behind a dais. And if that's where this needs to go to do the right thing, then I think that's okay. But I think that we need to maintain the full reconstruction costs in whatever we do going forward.
Commissioner Nielsen.
Yeah, just to maybe having been on the CICAC briefly before I became a commissioner, I think this was introduced to us, this concept, during that, I don't know, fact-finding comparison to other jurisdictions. But listening to you, Justin, and with my background in impact fees, I can see where the staff is coming from. So, so I could be persuaded. I don't think it's an issue of not having things paid for accountable, but I think it's a truly a legal issue relative to the impact fee statute. So, I'm glad it kind of came up today. I don't recall which jurisdictions are doing that on the past research, but I think it's always good to kind of, maybe re-examine those initial thoughts. If somebody else is doing that, it must be okay. So thanks for bringing that forward.
Commissioner McKinney or Commissioner Pickering, do either of you have any thoughts on including the full reconstruction cost? Commissioner McKinney.
At the moment, I'm a bit undecided. I can see the arguments both ways, because the reality is, as we discussed a minute ago, the total cost works out to about $2 to $3 million a year in revenue, 5 to 7% difference in the impact fee. And the reality is, if I were to make the argument in court, I would say traffic impact or development impact is requiring this particular road to be rebuilt, and rebuilding it requires reconstructing the existing lanes. I mean, that's a simple argument to make, and I think it wouldn't be difficult to make that argument at all. So it's perfectly logical and reasonable. It's understandable that the developers might take a different view. So I'm a bit I'm undecided on this one at the moment, so I can see it going either way.
Yeah, Madam President, I would agree. I think it could go either way. I think we need to present both options if that's possible for December 3rd. And the thing that I'm wondering too is just like looking at the bigger picture here and wanting to get this ordinance passed so that we can continue to collect the appropriate level of impact fees. Because I think that's the North Star, right? And so I think that's how I'm kind of looking at this decision personally, is how can we balance the needs of everyone in the county as best as possible, while also making sure that we have the ability to actually pay to keep the roads as good as they are. So, yeah, I don't have a definitive answer either. I do appreciate Justin and the team's explanation of it all, because I've been hearing that too. And I think I'll just do some more digging myself as well, and kind of, sit with it a little bit longer.
Madam President, Commission, one option that is available, and we definitely, if the commission directs us to do so, can bring lots of packages available to the, and we want to make that available to the commission and to the public, so that we can adopt on the adoption hearing one package. But one of the options, the discussion was today that we can continue to look at this and continue to refine this. And we have made amendments to the CIP mid-course. We don't have to wait 4 years to do that. We also can take a look at the legislature and try and evaluate clarifying the language so that we could make it more clear and make sure that those are options. So we could move forward based on the current advisement that we've received from our legal counsel, that maybe we should be a little bit more cautious here and move forward with the more refined, revised approach, and then work that issue over the next number of months and then we could talk about a refinement and adoption there. So we could move forward, adopt with the lower refined recommendation that staff is giving, and then continue immediately work on that issue a little bit more further, have more conversation, and get an official legal opinion on that topic. So,
Madam President,
just an option.
Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, I would support what Ryan just lined out as the proposal for next month.
I have a question. Are we aware of any challenges that have been brought to any of the jurisdictions that are?
So, Madam President, members of the commission, the city of Idaho Falls recently has gone through an impact fee update with various different adjustments, and they're under, a legal challenge as we speak. It's not necessarily specific to this issue, but it's a related issue of testing the bounds and interpretations of Idaho code. Idaho code, the way it's written, it just speaks to impact fees and capital improvements. It doesn't speak to the nuances of the difference between roads and parks and all the other things. So you just have to have a plan. You have to then define what's eligible and what's not, and then you move forward with your calculations. As Sonia stated, other agencies have included this cost. It's one of the reasons in our deep dive and our background check on this that we brought it forward. I think earlier in the process, staff felt, to be honest, maybe felt more comfortable with it. With further discussions, further looking at current existing situations with what's going on in Idaho Falls, I think staff is a little gun shy. I'm just being straight. I'm being honest with you. I think we're concerned that by doing this and also seeing how specific the feedback was on this issue from the development community, I think it makes us concerned. And we want to present to you a plan that we can feel good about, all of us, that we can implement, and that goes forward without challenge. And I think that's what we want to do. That's always what staff wants to do. These are difficult decisions, and I understand the nuance. I understand the logic, which is essentially how we got here. But I think today, if the proposal from the director is reasonable, and I don't hear something more, I think that's how staff would proceed. This is difficult. We're in a work session, but that's how we would recommend that we proceed. Without further direction from the commission, I think staff's recommendation would be, let's pause on that policy change for now. Let's do a deeper dive as the director recommended and potentially bring that back as a further refinement to the CIP in a future analysis period.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. I think that, it does, the code that Sonia read does seem to mention that it includes construction and reconstruction costs, but I appreciate you speaking to the nuance and the legal concerns that, are being raised. And so I think that this is a good strategy to move forward in this draft with the two packages, including 2 service areas and a single service area, but omitting the full construction costs and then continuing to assess that and, put that in a future potential amendment if it makes sense as we continue to dig on that issue.
Based on that feedback, Commission President, that's how we will proceed. I have head nods, maybe not from all of you, but I believe from enough of you to proceed in that direction. I did want to highlight, and thank you for pointing that out, Commissioner Gold. We do plan, as part of our adoption schedule and process, to bring back to the commission the opportunity to select on your adoption night single service area or 2 service areas. There's been a lot of discussion about that. There's been a lot of public feedback on that topic, and staff really thinks it's wise to give the commission the full opportunity up until adoption to deliberate on that issue. So what we'll do is we essentially will create 2 different ordinances, 2 different packages that have all of the data, including the refinements that we discussed today. Those will both packages be fully released and advertised per Idaho code for adoption. And that gives you the flexibility at the hearing to choose one or the other without having to make any refinements or bring it back at a future date. So that would be our plan. And we think it really gives the commission a lot of good flexibility there and allows you to deliberate all the way up until the time of adoption, including any public testimony you may hear that night on that topic. So that's our plan related to how we're going to deal with single versus 2 service areas.
Madam President.
Commissioner McKinney.
I'm sorry to interrupt. My understanding, though, is that adoption of the CIP itself just requires a simple majority of the commission, but changing to 2 service areas requires a supermajority.
Let me clarify that, and this is really important, commissioners. And I know there's been discussion of the votes and things like that that are required. So when you adopt a CIP, regardless of service area, you have to adopt an ordinance. And an ordinance requires a supermajority, which is 4 votes of the commission. That is not related to changing service areas. It's in the adoption of any capital improvement plan that is going to establish an impact fee program. That has to be done by ordinance. And that is what requires the 4 votes. So when you're deliberating and preparing for your hearing on December 3rd, staff wants to make that very clear, that to pass the ordinance, which would allow you to then establish this revised impact fee schedule, that requires 4 votes or a supermajority. So as stated, there's quite a bit going on. We have our Commercial Developers Advisory Committee meeting tomorrow. We will update them on all the things that we have discussed today. We'll outline our 2-package approach. We'll clarify with them the refinements that we made today related to right-of-way and the additional refinement that we discussed related to the existing lanes. We'll go ahead and release those 2 packages on November 12th for full public involvement prior to the December 3rd adoption hearing. That period of time, there's a statutory process that we go through. The ordinance will also outline when the impact fees will become effective. There will be an effective date on that. We're actually targeting not January 1st, but March. When we do a major impact fee update like this, we like to provide a little bit more time to the development community to see all those differences. They have opportunities to maybe pay fees under the old schedule versus the new schedule. And if you do decide to go forward with 2 service areas, technically behind the scenes with our programs, that's going to require a pretty significant update, and we need at least until probably about March to do that. So the effective date we're looking at is probably March 1st in that time frame, and that will be outlined in the ordinance. So that's our next steps as we go forward towards adoption. I just want to say thank you to the commissioners, to the members of the public and our development community. I personally visited with each of our community partners and cities, talked to the councils and the mayor about this. This has been a long process, but I believe it's been a transparent process where all of the issues have been discussed robustly, and we're hopeful that on December 3rd that we've provided the commission with a clear opportunity to make a decision.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Really do appreciate all your efforts reaching out to our partners and making sure that they understand what we've been working on over the last couple of years, and appreciate the whole team's work on this, and really, getting this part of it ready for today. Is a lot, going through all of that public comment and putting that in front of us and proposing these refinements. So thanks to all of you for your work as well.
Madam President.
Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, just one quick comment on that front as well. I just want to give credit to Sonia and her team too. And also, I just noticed the evolution and sophistication of our staff handling this process and moving around these very nuanced and complicated topics. This is not an easy thing to talk about and organize and herd cats around. And I think if we would have had this type of to be honest, I don't think we could have had this nuanced of a conversation and dug this deep previously. And I think a lot of that credit goes to the staff and your ability to anticipate and plan ahead and understand where the commission is at and what we're thinking about it and all of our different ideas and variations of that, and still trying to weave a tapestry that'll help our transportation system move forward. So thank you again.
Nelson?
Yeah, I read in several comments, obviously the issue of housing affordability is front and center. And per state law, we can exempt for housing affordability, but we have to have another dedicated funding source. So as we meet with our other partners in the cities, if we could jointly look at that issue, is that even possible? Or people willing to entertain that? I just think as a single highway district, it can only happen with other partnerships. So, but if people are willing to look into that, I'm willing to. So I think it's an important issue. I think other cities who have their own streets are able to do that. But that's a wider community conversation. But I don't want to overlook that concern in the community that we heard through those comments. But
Good point. All right, is that the last slide there? Okay. All right, well, thanks again for all the work on that, and just appreciate appreciate the effort and look forward to reviewing it on December 3rd. Okay, so with that, next up, we've got an executive session, and we will see everybody next week.